Welcome back to episode 32 of the Boxing Social podcast in association with Betfred, with me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, before we get started, just like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, delighted to bring you our guest this week, unbeaten flyweight Harvey Horn. Harvey, how you doing?
I'm very good, Rob. How are you, mate?
I'm very good. We just had a little bit of fun with you and your brother Louis before we got started. So look out for that across Boxing Social. But it was a bit of a laugh, wasn't it?
I'm sure that'll be a good watch back. Yeah. Just to disclose quick, he's probably lying. I don't even seen it, and I know he's probably waffling. So I'm going to chuck that out there quick.
Well, we'll leave the Boxing Social fans and a Boxing Social audience to make their own conclusions from there. But yeah, how are you? This is the first time we've actually done something together. I was thinking about this. There's not that many people, not that many fighters who I've never interviewed, certainly on the British scene. So thanks very much for coming down today and gracing us with your presence.
Don't be silly. No, thank you for having me. Do you know what? I think the only thing we've ever done together was I was fighting. You come down to Peacock and you videoed a bit of pads with Mark. That's the only thing I've had from Boxing Social, I think.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, who was I boxing? I don't know where I was boxing. I can't remember. It was on one of Yard's bills, so I might have been boxing at York Hall or something like that. But that's the only time I've ever done a bit of work with Boxing Social, I think, yeah. What's happening, Rob? I smell.
I don't know, mate. I know. It's long overdue now. But anyway, let's not focus on the past. Let's focus on the future. You are, of course, returning to the ring this week, live on Boxing Social, Facebook and YouTube. Get the plug out of the way nice and early. But yeah, how have you been? How are you? How's COVID and what have you? All of the layoff and stuff. It was a sort of boring question, but it's always one to answer with.
Yeah, do you know what? I've had it a lot lately. Everyone sort of asks the same thing. How'd you get on? Has the layoff done you a favour? And I had an interview earlier today, as it happens, and I was thinking about it, and it's one of them things where it was good in some ways, as in you got to recharge and things like that. You got to spend a bit of time with family, but the downside was if I had no promoter, it just sort of hit me at the wrong time, like it did a lot of people, but it did hit me at a wrong time. So when all promoters were looking after their own, you know, like Eddie Hearn was doing his like Matchroom Square Garden ones, and Warren was chucking on shows here and there, I had no one to sort of look after me. So it's sort of right as soon as it happened, I left him in February and it happened in April, kicked off in April. So didn't do me no favours, but as we know from my career, I'm not exactly lucky with the momentum. Not very active, haven't been active. It's only now, I mean, it's my second fight in about 8 weeks with Wasserman that I've actually had someone that's actually doing what they said they're going to do, give me some momentum, get me active. And I think once I am, people will start to, like, people took notice after the last fight. Even though I'd had 2 years out, I had a big crowd there. Boxed great, boxed well, not so much ring rust. A couple of things that I could have picked at that we could have done better, but I haven't been in the ring for 2 years. So there was always going to be room for improvement. But for 2 years out, I boxed well. Handled him comfortably. Showed a little bit of what I was about, enjoyed it, and now I'm back out again. Thursday, I'm out, yeah.
Live on Boxing Social.
There
we go. Yeah, let's just talk about that. Obviously, signing with Wasserman, it seems like now, well, it's not seems like, there's more broadcasters, there's more promoters, there's more people looking to get involved in boxing than ever before, which is great for fighters in particular. What was it about Wasserman that was attractive for you?
I think, I'll be honest, it's a bit of a no-brainer, as in the fact that Wasserman themselves, before they become Wasserman Boxing, because they merged with the Sauerland brothers, didn't they? Obviously, two of Europe's biggest promoters outside of Hearn and things like that. So what the first problem was, they're great, as in they're a global marketing machine, great for anything like that, great agency. Do they have the boxing knowledge, the boxing contacts to sort of get you where you need to go? Because that's what a lot of these boxing games are about. It's about knowing where to go, knowing when to put people in, matchmaking, all things like that you wouldn't really think of. What fights to have and when is a big thing. I'm not being funny. You can get a world title now just by being carefully matched sometimes. You know, you see it quite a lot. Not saying that's the route I want to go, but I'm saying it happens. And the boxing know-how, I wasn't sure they had. And obviously then they announced that they was merging with the Sauerland. So now I've got the best of both. I've got all of that boxing knowledge paired with the marketing, the PR, the career boosting, building your brand, so to speak, of Wasserman's. It seems like a bit of a no-brainer to me. But it's going well so far, and they're trustworthy. That's a big thing. You don't really see it a lot in the boxing, where everyone's sort of out to turn everyone over, and it's known for being one of them sports, isn't it? You know, like just it's it's one of them. But they've been great to me so far, and I'm sure it'll be a long partnership, and I'm sure if I'm going to get to the top, which I think I am, then it'll be with them.
Yeah, this is kind of something that you hear a lot across boxing. People overpromise and underdeliver. They'll promise you the world and give you, I don't know, Swansea. Which is nothing against anybody from Swansea. Barry Jones, a co-host of ours from Swansea, he's actually from Cardiff.
Is he Cardiff? He go mad over that.
He hates me calling him from Swansea, but he's not here to beat me up, so it's fine. Moving swiftly on. Well, I say moving on. It's always customary for me when I get somebody on the podcast, first time we've done a proper interview and a proper sit down, is to kind of delve back and go back to the very start, really. So that's what I'd like to do with you today, and just have a little bit of a talk of your kind of origins in the sport, how you came to the sport and what have you. So how did you end up in this crazy old world of boxing?
So my dad boxed years ago. Didn't do nothing with it. He had a few amateur fights. Loved it though. Loved the boxing. And when we've always been involved in sport, because obviously I've got I've got two younger brothers. We've always been involved in sport. And it's one of them, we started off karate, football, swimming. It was always something going on. So eventually...
Just 1 second. I just don't want Harvey to think that I'm being rude. His trainer, Mark Tibbs, is trying to get into the building. So sorry to interrupt you there, Harvey.
No, it's all right, mate.
But anyway, picking it up, just I don't want Mark to be stranded outside. Yeah, you know what he's like.
Yeah. So we was always involved in sport, and eventually we was always gonna go to boxing at some point. But my dad knew that it was around 10, 11. You can take them in there, then they can fight. So I went in there 10. I was about 2 months off my first birthday. Clicked straight away. I thought I was showing that I could do something, I think. Got carded a couple of months later. Lost my first 3 fights. Lost all 3 of them on the spin. So I was 0-3 by the time I was 2 months into being 11.
What was that like? Just to jump in there.
Do you know what? I won the first one. Without a doubt, I won the first one. Danny Edges, a geezer called Danny Edges. I boxed him years later. I ended up stopping him. But a geezer from West Ham. I boxed him on a West Ham show, West Ham boy. And I beat him. Lost on a majority. Beat him. But I lost. I won best boxer of the night. And I've still got the trophy indoors. But the second one, I went up to Liverpool. Again, because I was 25 kilo. So this is a bag of screed I weigh. So I was 25 kilo. Couldn't get matched. So we just take anything. Anything we had, I'll take. So we went up to Liverpool, got done up there. And then come back down. Ended up boxing a geezer called Jack Gaylor, who I boxed 3 times after that. I beat him 3 times after, but he punched me about. I was just really negative. I was just a negative fighter. I didn't want to... I think it was the karate background, you know, that on the toes, like flicking shots. And I was like that. Wasn't following... I mean, I'm not being funny. There wasn't much power there anyway, 25 kilo, but it just wasn't... It weren't clicking. And then all of a sudden, I got the first win under me belt. And then I just didn't stop winning after that. And then I hit 15... when I won my first junior title, that's when I really started to think, I could do something here. I can do something because I'm beating decent opposition. And then I hadn't been beat by a Brit since I was 15. That was the last time I got beat by a Brit. I've obviously been beat internationally, but never since then. So it's over 10 years, which is quite impressive, I think. But from there, it just sort of... But even then, so I won a few titles. I won juniors, CYPs. I sort of cleaned up around there. I hit 17 and I did really well at school. And I've always wanted to be a trader, a stockbroker. I don't know what it was. My dad was a stockbroker years ago. My uncle's a stockbroker now. I always thought it just seemed like a bit of me. I'd heard stories and that, and I thought, I could do that. So when I turned 17, 18, it was time to go to either do A-levels or do something properly with the boxing. I went, I'm going to do both. I tried to do both. So I took 4 A-levels and went to a college called the Frank Bruno Boxing Academy in Orpington, which they'd let me do my boxing on the side. Didn't work out. 5 minutes there. A-levels was too much. You know, like with boxing, my head was frazzled. I said, nah, I can't do this. And my dad said, what one are you going to pack in? I went, we'll pack the A-levels in. I ain't doing them. So, and then that's when I entered the senior ABAs. I was 17, just turned 18. I won that, and then everything took off from there. That was when, because I was winning junior titles. I'd never been selected for anything other than the Tri-Nations. I wasn't going here, there, and everywhere like you hear a lot of amateurs. So I had the senior ABAs, and I won that. And that's when they took notice, GB, and that. I won that at very young, just turned 18. Beat a world champion. I beat the current Olympic champion as well. Beat Galal Yafai there. And a bloke who's actually a decent pro now, Thomas Asumba.
Yeah.
You might have seen him. Yeah, I beat him in the final.
Another Olympian.
Yeah, another Olympian. Yeah, two-time Olympian, I think he is. Yeah, so I beat him, and then
Fighter, Thomas Asumba.
mate, he's the one who cut me. He cut me here, left the scar there, and the only reason it scarred is because I was too scared to get it stitched up. I ain't having that. The doctor got his needle. I went, nah, I'm off. I'll dab it. But yeah, so we've gone. So after that, I got on GB within a few months after that, and then again onto the podium squad a few months after that, and then my first major tournament was at 19, European men's seniors, and I got silver, which was very unexpected, I think, because I was only a young kid. Got silver, and then it just sort of I did well. I had a lot going on outside of boxing as well. I was a little bit. My head was a bit elsewhere. I don't know if I thought I was not thought I was better than what I was, but it came quite easy to me. As in, I was winning tournaments. I was still only young, but I think I sort of maybe took my foot off the gas a bit. I say took my foot off the gas. I was still winning. So it's one of them things where it was the Olympic trials come up, and that's when I sort of fell out of love with the amateur game. You know, like I didn't get Galal got selected in front of me. I think he'd had a handful of fights for GB. I'd had over 30. So it was like one of them. It was a shame. So they sent him, and that 2016. I stayed on a bit longer because I thought, you know what, I've got Tokyo in me. I could do Tokyo. And then I think I won in 2017. I won the under 22 European gold. I won that. And then I thought, right, surely that's got to put me right back into either the number one spot or bordering on competing, because he's just been Olympics. It's going to be hard to knock him off. And then I see that he was they selected him to go to the Worlds after, which I know is the number one spot's duty. I said, oh, no, I ain't having this. I went up to Sheffield that day. I see that he was there, and then I see he was going. And then I said to McCracken, I said, oh, I'm packing it in, Rob. I went back, took my bag and drove straight back home. So I went 3 hours up there, 3 hours back. But after that, I never went back to GB. And I didn't know if I was going to box, funnily enough. I wasn't too sure. I could have walked into a job with my uncle. There's been a few times when it's come round and you think, like with the boxing, I thought, is it for me? Because I've been very unlucky. It's quite hard not to be a little bit bitter sometimes, if I was to think about it. If I'm being completely honest. But because when it's good, it's great. But you need momentum, you need activity, you need a certain bit of luck, which I just didn't seem to have. And then all of a sudden, turned pro again, same story, but promised everything. Started off really well, ticket seller, good fight, like was performing well, and then just sort of died off. So it made me think, is it something I'm doing? Am I not fighting? Am I not as good as I think I am, or I'm not performing? And ended up winning that title. I beat a half decent fight, funnily enough. I say half decent. He was all right. He weren't too bad for the WBO European. And then again, that should have been it. Now I'm on the title trail. Now we can start looking at building some rankings, going up, like moving quickly through the ladder. And it just weren't to be. It just sort of didn't happen again. But now I am confident. I'm very, very confident that I'm where I need to be now. I think it's all sort of worked out, fell into place. And now this is where I'm supposed to be, as in with Wasserman. Yeah. So I've been going on quite a bit, haven't I? I was looking at the time there. The time's on there. It's been clicking down. Look, been talking for about 10 minutes.
That's all right. No problem. We had a lot to talk about. You mentioned a good point in there about, boxing. You could be the best fighter in the world. If you can't sell a ticket, you're not going to get on a show. Or conversely, you sell loads of tickets, doesn't make you a great fighter. When it's been difficult throughout your boxing career as an amateur and a pro, what's kept you involved in the sport?
A definite competitive edge, as in like I could. Not just competition with other people, competition with myself. it's like for one, and again, I'm the oldest brother, so it's like if I was to quit, say, look, nah, I've had enough. Which I'll be honest, I've got plenty of good reasons. A lot of people have said they wouldn't blame me if I wiped my hands of it with the luck I've had. But if I was to turn me back on it and quit without knowing how good I really am, without going as far as I could, what sort of example do I set to my younger brothers, to me dad, to me mum, who's put all this time and effort into what I am? Because boxing, I know I'm in there on my own. I fight on my own. It's a very lonesome sport, but none of us get to where we are without having all of that behind us, you know. And I've been lucky to have a supportive family like that. And I would think I'm not doing it for them, but I'm doing it in a way that, what sort of person would I be if I was to turn me back on that and just sort of went, nah, I've had enough, without really fulfilling my potential. So that's what's kept me going, I think. And also the competitive against myself. I've never quit on anything. Never quit on anything. I won't. Most fighters are like that. We're fighters. And I think I'd miss it too much. I would miss it if I was to turn me back on it. I hate it sometimes, but I would miss it because I love it.
I feel sort of say to people, obviously it's very different to what you do and what I do in the sport, but everybody in boxing, it's sort of, I always describe it to people as an addiction. You get addicted to boxing where you always talk about quitting and then eventually something will happen, just keep you on the hook, just keeps you coming back. Yeah. So I always like to kind of depress people by telling them that every time this sort of thing comes up. Are you one of these fighters who are you a boxing nut? Do you watch a lot of boxing in your spare time, or do you go to the gym and kind of try and leave it at the door when you finish?
I'm a bit of both. I'll have times and times. A lot of the time, I do love my boxing. I'm a fan. I am a fan of boxing. There will be times when I'm training my absolute nuts off and I've had enough of boxing. You know, I've had enough. I might have lost a big bet. I've had enough. But in general, I'm a fan. I enjoy boxing. I don't think you could do what you do without being some type of fan or interested in it in any way. I also work I'm a boxing sort of instructor down in London. That's what I do. So if I wasn't a fan, I think I wouldn't be good at what I do in the ring and outside of the ring.
What fighters do you like to watch?
I like I said, I'm a big Pernell Whitaker fan. You know, if we're talking old school fighters, I love Pernell Whitaker. I love elusive fighters that sort of portray the art, the hit and don't get hit. But I like all that. But also, I can appreciate a good scrap. I like watching Duran. I like a lot of fighters like that. But if I'm really Mayweather, I loved Mayweather. I thought it was brilliant. Canelo's one of my favourites now. Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson, I think is brilliant. Technical fighters are my type of who I would rather watch. I'd rather watch a great technical chess match than a scrap 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I'm quite similar. I'm not. Everybody loves like the Gatti Ward fights. You
yeah.
can't help but like something like that. But I prefer kind of like the high speed. My favourite ever fight is James Toney versus Mike McCallum 1.
I've never seen it.
So it's just two guys countering the counter, like proper
chess match.
High level boxing.
Yeah.
Like obviously you want to add a bit of violence to it, and everybody loves a blood and guts war and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm similar to you in that regard. We've mentioned him. Let's talk about him before he gets in here. Mark Tibbs.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your relationship with Mark Tibbs. How did you guys come to pass? How did you meet Mark?
So me and Mark met on a funny one. I'd never met Mark in my life. I obviously knew who he was because I think Jimmy was training Billy Joe at the time, and obviously Tibbs' name in boxing they're well respected. They've been about. But I got into contact with Mark by some bloke that my mate put me onto. Said that he knew Mark and knew I was turning over. Do I want you to send his number? And I said, yeah, go on then, thinking he was waffling. But he's ended up sending me it, and I just called Mark. Called him. I said, you all right, mate? I'm turning pro. I've done this, that. Would you be interested? He said, yeah, come down, we'll have a look at you. Come down to the Peacock at the time. I went down there. The first time. I went down there, and he was training a kid called Ben Smith. I used to know on the England squad. I see Ben. I see a few people I knew down the Peacock. So, but I never trained that day. I didn't train. He come in. He said, I ain't got no time. So I come back another day, and all I did was shadow. All I did was shadow box, and that was it. After that, he said, yeah, come down, and then we just that was it. Stayed with him. Been with him for a while now. About 4 years, I think. Yeah, can't get rid of him.
He's even following you in.
Yeah, he's
How would you describe Mark before he gets here?
He's a great trainer. He's a great trainer. It's not just the fact that he's a trainer. I think you need to get on with your trainer as well. You need to have a certain click, which we did. We did click. We got the same. We find the same. Like I know what he's thinking. He knows what I'm thinking, and that's a big thing. He only has to say certain things when I'm fighting, when I'm sparring, when I'm training to get the best out of me, and that's because he knows me and he sort of susses me. And you can only do that with fighters you click with, I think, and that's why I've been around so long. I'm sure he would have booted me out a long time ago otherwise. With the amount of luck I've had, like the inactivity and that, I'm sure it's like I'm wasting gym space. But we get on well. And he's strict, but he's not strict as Jimmy. Not as strict as Jimmy. Yeah. But I think the results speak for himself. He turned me into a completely different fighter. We've got a great stable at the minute.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. You're kind of like that whisper of quiet, the old man at the gym, Harvey. You got young Johnny Hedges and obviously Johnny Fisher and... Yeah.
Am I the oldest one in there?
The old man.
Oh, yeah, I am. I am as well. You got Tommy... Yeah, you got Johnny Fisher.
The look of absolute horror on his face.
Yeah. You got Tommy Fletcher. He's only about 19. He looks about 30, doesn't he? Johnny Fisher's the same. Johnny Fisher looks about 30, doesn't he? He's only 22. Johnny Edges, how old's Johnny Edges? 19.
He's young, yeah.
Johnny Edges 19. Little man, he's 20. God, mate. Duffield was the only one older than me, wasn't he? Charlie Duffield, but he's not there no more. I don't think he's got an injury at the minute. Oh, what liberty.
We mentioned Jimmy Tibbs. I'm always fascinated to speak about Jimmy Tibbs when I encounter people. Everyone has a Jimmy Tibbs story. What's your Jimmy Tibbs story?
My Jimmy Tibbs story. I thought I've got a few. I have got a fair few, but
one that you could preferably tell on here without
that's why
bringing me up. Nobody wants the call from Jimmy Tibbs.
No, do you know what? He's a great trainer. With Jimmy, I remember I boxed a couple of times. He's always done my corner. He's always been in my corner. But he's only recently been very active down the gym. He's been down the gym, a lot of us. And he was always do our cuts, even if he wasn't in the gym that much for the previous fight. So we didn't really get much one-on-one time with him, only when we was fighting. But recently, he's been in the gym a lot. And Jimmy used to say, every time he'd say, can't punch about me. He can't punch. He's going to struggle if he can't punch. And then recently, he's seen me sort of, where I've had so much time or time off, and I've come back and he's been around the gym and he said, you've turned into a man, like he's manned up. And it's a big thing coming from Jimmy because he's not lying, like everything he says, he means, whether he says he don't like you, or he don't like you, you're not doing this right, or he's very old school in a lot of ways, and for him to turn around and say that to me is a big thing. It gave me confidence. Yeah. That's
the Jimmy Tibbs.
That's the PG. That's the PG one I can give on camera.
That's all right. We'll take that. Growing into your man strength.
Yeah.
How does that give you? What confidence does that give you as a fighter now?
It's a big boost because I was starting to think it weren't going to come. At 25, I thought, oh mate, this is a bit of a liberty now. But my dad turned around and said he didn't get his till 27, and my dad's solid. So I thought, well, that's what I've been hanging on to, like 25, 26, 27. I'll start whacking now because I can whack if they're on the end of the levers. But it's things like physical strength. It's that sort of thud you get as I now know, and I started doing it recently. Like I'm landing shots and I'm thinking it just feels a lot better. It's like there's more weight behind it. I think it's also something to do with my weight in general. I was walking around at the flyweight limit. Now I'm having to make the weight, which I've never had to do really. So now I think obviously that paired with the fact that I'm, like you say, I'm getting old now. I'm the old man in the gym. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be knocking geezers spark out with one shot.
Well, there we go. Putting the pressure on yourself. Delivering a nice knockout on Boxing Social.
Well, Jimmy says he went, you're never ever going to be a one-punch KO artist. He went, that's not your game. You'll never be a one-punch KO artist. Chip away. and then you finish them off. You soften them up, then finish them off. And now I've got the power to do that, not just chip, run, nick points. They can't keep walking through these shots now. So
picking it straight up there, just rudely interrupted by Mark Tibbs. I'll say that before he gets in here, where he can't hear me. Yeah, you mentioned kind of being able to punch, and obviously flyweights conventionally, it's not really, it's not a bangers division with all due respect, but you've got now Julio Cesar Martinez, who we just saw this past weekend, obviously coming through. Like the lower weight classes, I think kind of recent years with Inoue and slightly beforehand Roman Gonzalez, like more eyes are being attracted now to the lower weight classes. Do you think that's fair to say?
Definitely. I think it's definitely fair to say. You've got some great fighters in there now, especially around the super flyweight division. You've got some great fighters, Strada, the Thai bloke, I can't think of his name, Rungvisai. Some great fighters there. I think what people are starting to appreciate, even though it's not a bangers weight, we're not going to be knocking people's spark out, but we're having wars still, and people are appreciating them. Like when they had that, I think it was Rungvisai Strada one.
Rungvisai Strada, both.
They called it Superfly, don't they? They called the show Superfly, and
like Tom
sells, because they just go at it and they're exciting. So I think people are starting to appreciate the sort of skill level, and because I think it's fair to say that we're not the biggest bangers division, but we've definitely got a lot more technical ability than a lot of the divisions, and yeah, definitely getting. I think it's making its way into headlines now. I think it will as it goes on.
Yeah, I think like in the last, you mentioned the Superfly series, sort of headed up by Tom Loeffler originally on HBO, and you've seen Rungvisai, Quadras, Strada. Now we're seeing obviously flyweights, or Junto Nakatani recently. He's another guy coming through. It's your old amateur teammate, of course, Sonny Edwards, IBF flyweight champion of the world. Now you and him are somebody who, two people have been linked for a long time. I remember there was a period of time where I couldn't lift up my laptop without one of you saying something to the other one years ago. First question, I guess, is going back to the origins of your relationship, both on GB. I'm assuming that's where you first crossed paths.
No, we've known each other since we was 11, 12. Yeah, before that, because he was always a year below me. I was a 95 boy, he was a 96 boy. We was in the same year at school, but they always do it in years, didn't they? So we was always along the same sort of weight, and we never really had to compete against each other until the European Junior selection camp, and we was both at the same weight. We both won the national title at the same weight in different years. So we was up for the I think it was the 46 kilo spot, and I got selected, and I think maybe it probably started a little bit then. As in that bit of competitiveness. We always knew we was going to eventually compete against each other because his brother's not that big, is he? So we was always going to be around the same sort of height, same sort of weight. And then I got onto GB. I won the A-Bays, got onto GB. He did the same a year later. I got moved on to podium squad, and I was always I was one step ahead, really. I was always one step ahead. But we never actually boxed. Never boxed this whole time. But the way it's going, he's doing well at the minute. He's doing well. Don't get me wrong, we talk a lot of shit. Well, I say we talk a lot of shit. It's mainly him, innit? He don't stop on that Twitter, does he? But we talk. A lot of stuff's been said, but it would be a great fight, as in domestically, a domestic world title fight over here with two people that people genuinely want to see. I remember they put a poll out in the Boxing News, and that was one of the top 5 domestic fights that people wanted to see. And for flyweights, that's good. That's good. So it will happen at some point. It's got to happen at some point because, I'll be honest, there's not much out there anyway, is there? There ain't much out there anyway. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's not like welterweight when you've got, 20, 25 guys.
That's what I mean. That's domestic, isn't they? All trying to get that one spot. But there's not much. There's not much. I mean, apart from you've got Tommy Frank, Joe Mafosha's moved up. There's a couple of young ones coming up. But apart from that, there's not much.
What did you think to Sonny's performance against Murutim Talani?
He boxed well. He did box well. You can't take that away from him. He boxed well. But he boxed the only fight that he could have. It was the only fight he could have. He's stay on your toes, move around him, sort of ping him. Because you ain't going to stand there with that geezer. But he was old, wasn't he? He was old. I've seen fights of him before. And he he didn't close the distance down so well. He was a bit just looked a bit older, a bit slower. But again, he's 30? He's got to be late 30s.
Tolani, I think it's 38, 39.
38. That's it's an hard one to think because the heavyweights can get away with being that old because it's the speed that goes first, and they don't really need that. You know, that speed, that reactions, that zip. As a flyweight, that's all you need. That's one of the biggest factors, ain't it? So but it's done. I'll be honest, it's done everyone a favour in winning that. It's done everyone a favour, as in not just me, but all the flyweights, British boxing in general. He's give people opportunities. This has so. I think when it will happen, Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I think you've been very kind of objective about it there. It has certainly helped. I mean, you're having a British flyweight world champion. Of course, Charlie was WBC champion before when he beat Christopher Rosales. Sonny isn't short of a few words, as you very well know. So it's good to kind of try and get a bit of eyes on the lower weight classes because your casual fan base or you people who don't tune into boxing all the time, don't really watch the flyweights all the time. Don't watch anything below heavyweight, really. Like generally speaking.
Yeah.
Have we got Louis? Is he in? So Louis Horn, who's acting as security for us here today, he's letting Mark Tibbs in. But yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head really well there. What do you think is the sort of timescale for you getting up to world level? Obviously, you've had your kind of inactivity and your issues so far as a pro. You're now with Wasserman. You're boxing on the biggest platform going in Boxing Social, of course. How long before you think you're ready to kind of take those? Because also another thing about being kind of flyweight in and around flyweight is that once you beat the domestic guys, there's not an awful like at welterweight. There's kind of 10, 15 guys to bridge the gap between domestic and world class. Whereas at flyweight, there is a little bit of, I don't want to say guesswork, but there's more of a jump between the domestic and the world level. Definitely,
there's not so much European wise. Is there not so much European level? It is definitely a case of, it's not hard to climb the rankings at flyweight. It's really not. Only takes a good couple of wins and literally a couple of wins, and then you're in the mandatory spot. It really isn't difficult. So when you're talking time frame, depending on momentum, depending on activity, could be within the next year. As soon as that, like it's one of them ones. It only takes. I do want the British. I've always been very vocal about wanting the British. So. We'll get that under the belt, so to speak, and then we go from there. But again, it's an open weight. I'm a big flyweight as well, so it makes sense.
Yeah, you get some of those big fights at super flyweight as well. Obviously, taking it one step at a time. We'll stop talking about Mark Tibbs now because he's just walked through the door. How are you, Mark? Nice to see you. With regards to the flyweight standings at the minute, taking yourself out and just looking from the outside, looking in, where do you rank the champions? I mentioned Martinez, Nakatani, Dalakian just boxed yesterday. I think yesterday or the day before.
How did he get on? I haven't watched him.
Stoppage.
Did he?
9th round stoppage.
I was not a big fan of that Dalakian. No. I'm not a big fan of it. I think out of everyone, he's beatable. He's very beatable. Nakatani, has he got the WBO?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Nakatani, who did he beat for the WBO?
I think he won a vacant title, I think.
Did he?
I think
because I'm sure one of the Japanese boys had it before, didn't they?
He boxed on the he boxed recently. I can't remember what undercard he was on, but he boxed fairly recently.
Yeah, Martinez is a bit of a different animal, isn't he?
Yeah. Did you see his fight at the weekend?
No, did it go no contest?
It was a no contest.
Yeah,
there was 3 knockdowns in the first 2 rounds, including him. He was dropped in the first round.
Mate, he's vicious, isn't he? He seems like he's got a bit of a screw loose, don't you think? Like he seems a bit mad, and he's definitely a bit of a scary fighter. He can whack. He's aggressive. He's got that bit of a nutty look about him. But I'm sure he got done for the clenbuterol, didn't he? He got done for the cleanse. That's what I mean. But you don't really hear too much about that. But he's beatable. He's beatable as well. I'm not just saying that. He's beatable. Dalakia, me personally, I think is the most beatable, if you're looking at it like that. Nakatani, I'll be honest, I ain't had a look at him.
Good fighter.
Good fighter, is he? Is he tall?
Yeah.
Is he tall? He looks tall and lanky. I think
I
have seen him. What's his record? Do we know? Is he undefeated?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll stay away from him for a bit.
Where do you see Sonny in and amongst those guys? The fight that he wants is the Julio Cesar.
He wants Martinez, I know, which I personally think, I know he's calling for it, and I think he's being quite smart because obviously it's the most publicity. He's got the WBC, but if I was him, I'd go a different route. I'd stay clear of that Martinez for a while. I would definitely. Obviously, if the money's right, which it tends to be at that sort of stage, good money, get him over here. Don't fight him over there. Get him over here. Sonny's got a style that could cause him ag. That sort of running, pinching shots, could frustrate him because he's a bit of a nutter as well. You know, like Fruitler, they can lose concentration. I've seen it with him. And I think that's how you exploit him, which Sonny could do. But I don't think he's got the strength and the I'll be honest, not the balls, but the grit to take that sort of power, and because he's going to drag you into, and you're in with him for 12 rounds. At some point, you're going to have to fight him. You can't run for the whole 12 rounds. And I know he did against Muflane, whatever he's the South African, but this is a young, fresh, aggressive champion. You know, like, so I don't think you can run for him. You've got to be able to fight fire with fire, and I don't think he's got that in the locker.
Okay, well, we look forward to Sonny Edwards seeing that clip and and responding. I'm sure he will.
I'm sure I'm going to get grief for that.
No, I'm sure he'll be nice and quiet. Before we let you go, I do appreciate your time so close to your boxing social debut this Thursday, of course. Let's talk about you again, returning to the ring against Fatili Majiha. We've obviously had a couple of opponent changes last minute. First off, do you know much about him?
I don't. I know the most I know is that he's boxed a couple of British boys. He's boxed Selby. He's boxed Kez Ashfag, one of my old GB mates. I know he can whack a bit. I think he can whack a bit. I'm pretty sure you told me that he dropped Selby. I haven't watched them. Yeah, I know he can whack. But he's a danger man. He's got nothing to lose. He's last minute. He's come in. He's boxed a bit heavier than flyweight. He's boxed at bantams and things like that. So he's coming down. He's going to be confident. He's got nothing to lose. He's on away soil. He's got everything to gain and nothing to lose. So I'm expecting a tough opponent. You know, like he's going to be there. But the way I'm boxing at the minute, the way I'm active, he's just going to be punching shadows. If I'm honest, he's going to be punching shadows. And you're going to start to see where that man's strength is coming in now, because he won't just be able to walk forward and march through and walk through jabs and things. He ain't going to be able to. He's only human, and I'm starting to whack. So I'm going to ping him as he's coming out round 4 or 5 of him punching thin air, and then I start letting him have it.
He's not. You mentioned kind of Andrew Selby, somebody who everybody seems to know from the amateurs, of course. Paul Butler was the other Brit that he boxed. Kez Ashfaq. None of them stopped him. Don't want to put the pressure on you, but you are going to be headlining Boxing Social, so we're going to need some of that pre-fight fire, Harvey.
You know what? I'll be honest. I don't want to give too much away. This one, I don't
Mark's.
give too much away. Mark's there as well. I've got to be careful, because if I go opposite the plan, I'll get slapped.
Yeah, and I'll be the one who gets into trouble for it. So please don't do that.
No, it's gonna be. You can expect either way. It's gonna be a good fight, because he's gonna come. He's coming for it, and he's coming for it. And I'm defending my O with my life, so it's not like he's gonna come. We're both. It's gonna be competitive. It's gonna be competitive in the sense that he's gonna want it. Not as much as me. He ain't gonna want it as much as me. I'm gonna do my job, turn up, headline, enjoy it, which is what I do best. I enjoy getting under the lights. It's my second one in 8 weeks, so I've got no rust, no excuses really. Go out and in technical terms, slaughter him.
And of course, you're not going to be the only Horn on the card. Your brother makes his professional debut, Louis.
Was he fighting on it as well? Was he?
He's just over there. So we're going to be opening the show with a Horn and closing it with a Horn. What can fans expect to see from your brother, Louis? You can be nice to him. I know he's sat over there, but you can be nice to him.
I didn't even know he was on there. Nah, he's. I'm going to be a bit biased tonight. He's a good fighter, and he's. We're thankful to Wasserman for being able to put him on a show like this early in his career with limited amateur experience, which he has. But I think they've seen that once they see him, once they see he's got a lot of the tools you need, tall, rangy. He's how tall? You got to be about 6 foot, you know. 6 foot, super featherweight. You know, like he's going to be dangerous. He can whack on the end of them long sort of Tommy Earns levers. You know, like. he's going to be dangerous. And he's tough. Well, he likes to think he's tough, doesn't he? He thinks he's hard. But melt. Yeah, so he's tough. I think you're going to see it's a real exciting prospect, and I'm just happy he's had a chance to do it on a show like this. Yeah. Bit of pressure, but
there we go. I thought you were very nice to him there. You could see how difficult it was to kind of coax it out of you with the brother, the sibling rivalry.
I could have slaughtered him. I really wanted to, and I'm going to regret it later. But it's all right.
Well, it's only the first
interview.
Yeah, I was going to say. So we'll be kind to him for this one. But no, Harvey, thanks very much for stopping by. Really do appreciate your time so close to the fight, and look forward to seeing you in action Thursday live on Boxing Social, Facebook and YouTube from 6:30 p.m. If you're not down at York Hall, which I recommend you being, please stop by and watch it on Facebook or YouTube with us. But thanks very much, Harvey. Appreciate your time. First one. Let's hope it's not the last, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you very much, Rob, for having me. I will see you soon, I'm sure.